Hello everyone, and welcome to my tutorial on creating a Mastercam file for an IQ tester. So we'll go right into it. The first thing we have already done is we've created the piece in SolidWorks. So this is the IQ tester. In order to get this over to Mastercam, we're going to go up here and select Tools. We're going to move down to Mastercam Direct, and select Mastercam. If this does not come up initially, you're going to want to move down to Add-ins. We're going to scroll down, and we're going to see that Mastercam Direct is here. So we're going to want to select here, press OK. So when you go back up to Tools, Mastercam Direct should be there now. So once we click Mastercam Direct, it'll actually bring us over to Mastercam. Bring your piece over to Mastercam. The first thing we want to do when we get into Mastercam is to select our router. So if we go up to Machine, we go over to Router, we're going to click the router that we're going to use. In this case, it's going to be a Larkin. And this will actually bring up a new machine group. So we can delete the old machine group. And here we have our Larkin router. Next thing we want to do is we want to expand this here and click Stock Setup. So this is setting up our stock. So first we want to click this corner here. This tells us that we're going to zero in right here. And we're using all entities. So this is actually just setting up the dimensions of our IQ tester. And click OK. So now once we have the stock set up, done, and the Larkin router picked, we're going to actually start using toolpaths. So if we right click, we can click top. This gives us a little better view of the IQ tester. And we click fit, it will just fit the screen. So we're going to go up to toolpaths, and the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to drill out our holes. You want to do everything inside the piece of stock first before you actually cut out or contour the piece. This just gives it a little bit more stability, and it's just a safer practice. So we're going to click drill, and this is actually going to drill out these holes. So first we're going to select one circle, and then we're going to drag our mouse over the rest. And here you see that it selects all the same size circles that we have. And this is kind of you can see the tool path here. This is kind of an inefficient way to have the router running. So we're going to actually change this. We go into select order and we'll choose this zigzag motion. So next we click OK. And now we're actually choosing the parameters of this cut. So our tool path type is drill. Our tool, so this is the actual bit we're going to use. So we're going to select the library tool, and we're going to use a 1/4 inch straight bit. The next thing we need to do is we need to move on down. We don't need to touch any of this. Next thing we're going to do is linking parameters. So we're going to change everything to absolute. And this last one here, this is actually how deep you want your holes to be drilled. So for this project, we're going to actually say -3/8. So as you can see, it changed to -0.375. This is how far down our holes are going to be drilled. And click OK. And as you can see, this is where the toolpath is actually going to go. So if we want to check to make sure that our operation is good, we're going to select Verified Selected Operations. We actually have to close down it the first time and reopen it again. This will bring up a simulation. So we're going to slow down the simulation a bit, and then we're going to press play. And as you see, it's moving across and drilling out our holes. The simulation isn't perfect, so you can't really see how it's drilled out, but at the end, it'll all come together. So we can also exit, and we can check this another way. If we want to click toolpath here, we can actually run a little toolpath simulation here as well. So as you can see, this is toolpath is going to take. So once we verify that this is all okay, we're going to right click again, we're going to click top view, and we're going to move on to drilling out our pocket here. So the next toolpath we're going to select is we're going to select pocket. Once we select pocket, we're actually going to click the edge of this circle, and as you can see, it's moving in a clockwise position, and that's the way we want to have it going. We're going to click OK. So now we're just setting our parameters. So as a pocket, we're going to select our 1/4 inch straight bit again. Don't need to do anything with holder. So cut parameters, roughing. So this is the actual method that is going to be cutting in. So since it's a circle, we're going to use true spiral. Entry motion, we can actually turn this off. We have a plungeable bit, so we don't need entry motion. Finishing, so if we wanted our bit to do a finishing pass on each pass that it does when it's pocketing out this, we could leave it as this, or we can select this and it will do a final pass once it has everything drilled out. So next is our lead in, lead out. We don't need that. And our depth cuts. So a depth cut, this is how far it's going to go down each time on each pass. So we usually go half of the width of the bit. So this would be 0.125 or 1/8. We don't need breakthrough. And our linking parameters again. So we're going to select absolute for each one. And now we want to tell how deep we want our pocket actually drilled out. So for this one, we're going to go negative 0.5. And we're going to click OK. So as you can see, we now have our pocket toolpath finished. So if we want to run a simulation on that, we can. So as you can see, it's taking 1/8 of an inch every time. So next, we're going to actually do our contour. So our contour is actually cutting out the piece. So again, make sure we're in toolpaths. And we're going to move up to contour. So we're going to select this side. We're going to make sure we're going in a clockwise position. This is just a better cut for the way the bit is turning. We're going to click OK. And now we're going to make sure we got contour selected in our parameters. Again, we're going to use a 1/4 inch straight bit, so we won't need to be changing the bit throughout the actual cut itself. Move down to depth cuts again. So how far down we want each pass to be cut. So again, we're going to use 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch. Our lead in, lead out, so this is all fine. We don't need to touch that. Move on down. The next thing we want to do is select tabs. So this is the actual piece that we're going to leave. So we're going to leave a small tab to make sure that our IQ tester is actually held to our stock after its contours. So first we're going to select vertical moves. This just makes it a cleaner tab. Typically we want to do a 1/8 of an inch tab thickness. And this all depends on how big of a piece of stock you're cutting and what kind of stock you're cutting. Next we want to click position. So this is actually going to allow me to select where we want to put our tabs. So if we're going to have our stock running this way, it'd be best for us to put them on these ends here. We could also put it on these ends, but that would mean that we need enough stock left over on either side to actually hold our IQ tester in place. So for this one, we're going to put a tab right here, and we're going to put a tab on the bottom. After that, we're going to press enter on our keyboard and brings us back to the parameters. So now that we have our tabs positioned, we're going to move to linking parameters. We're going to select absolute for all of them. And now we actually want to go all the way through our piece of stock now that we're actually cutting out our IQ tester. So since our piece of stock is 3/4 of an inch thick, we're going to actually move a little bit past that. So negative 0.8 inches. Click OK. As you see, here's what your lead in, lead out is to. And we're going to run this simulation. So as you can see, it's contouring piece. And it's left a tab up here. You won't see the tab down bottom. Whereas on these axes, you won't actually see it down here. But if you slow down the operation or the simulation, you'll actually see it pop up a little bit. So we're going to exit this. We're going to top, fit. So once we have everything done, I would suggest selecting all the tool paths and running a simulation for all of them. This should give you the full router toolpath that's going to do, and the order is in. So, but just in the interest of time, I'm going to leave that for now. The next thing we want to do is we want to select this thing. So this will actually give you your G code. That's the code that you will bring over to your router and use for actually cutting the stock.